Stuart, when we look back on Friday night, how do you reflect on that performance and result?
Still some real disappointment from our side of things. I know you've got to go over these things quickly because the next opportunities in the horizon. Next opportunities Wednesday for us against Aberdeen. But I think just the frustration comes, 3 games in 6 days. Felt like we performed really well in 2 of them, and we seriously let ourselves down in 1. And the last thing everybody remembers, rightfully so, is the last one. From our side, yet just so many aspects of the game that have been good for us of late that we didn't execute. I didn't think we passed the ball well enough. I didn't think we showed great enough bravery to get ourselves into better positions and create chances such as we have done of late. And then the kind of physical aspect of it, the demands of defending your penalty box, defending long high balls, we simply have to do better with as a team, not just the back line, but we simply have to do better as a team. So many aspects that I've been really buoyant by of late. I felt that they came up short, but the one thing I need to stress here as well is that as much as I say that, the players felt it on Friday. They were really disappointed with individual and collective performances. So again, we take that one in the chin. We wanted to advance in that competition. We wanted to get ourselves into the next round, and we see the excitement of yesterday with draws and finishing off the last number of games in the round of the cup. Then you want to be a part of that. So for me, it's about harnessing that frustration and bottling it up and try to see if we can come out with a reaction on Wednesday.
And you mentioned individual performances. Liam Kelly's come under a bit of criticism. How has he dealt with that? Is he the type of character that deals with that well?
Yeah, Liam's is as good a professional as you're going to come across, and he's possibly one of the best characters that I've come across in football in terms of his mentality and what he knows he's capable of. So you've mentioned Liam Kelly to me. I disagree with that completely. I think that he's been a real consistent performer for this football club. Yes, as a goalkeeper, if there's a mistake or people want to label blame at you, you're there to be shot at. But very simply, from my point of view, you look at his availability, you look at the influence he's been since his time at the football club, not least he's our captain, and we're delighted to have him as our captain. So one thing I can assure you is that there's nobody that dissects anything more than Liam. If he feels he's culpable for a goal or for a situation in a game, he's the first person to stick his hand up, and for that I really enjoy his integrity. If I'm being honest with you, he's not scared to take blame for anything. So I know what Liam will do when he comes in again this morning, and what he'll do for the remainder of the season and beyond is he gets his head down, he does his job, and he's a terrific influence to everybody else round about him, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon.
And Aberdeen on Wednesday, what type of challenge are you expecting from them?
It's difficult to say. It's difficult to say as much as we look into systems, shapes, personnel. Some of that's kind of been similar, it has to be said, to Barry's time, from what you've seen in the last couple of games from Neil Warnock. But I think what it does is it comes with a different mood and a different mentality. It's like everything else in football. The grass is always greener. They've changed the manager, and everybody gets a lift and everybody wants to go and show that they're a good player and that they have a future at a football club, and that mood naturally when you've changed the manager seems to lift another 20, 30, 40%, whatever it may be. So as much as the system's the same, it looks to me as if the mentality's a little bit different for whatever reason. That could be Neil's effect and how he manages a team, which has been pretty well documented through years. Somebody that I think we all respect for his longevity in football and what he's achieved and what he's done, and quite clearly he's a bright, bubbly character, and somebody that's probably going to get in a dressing room and try and lift players. So we need to handle that. We need to be aware of what they're going to bring to the game. The obvious threat that comes as the striker is Majowski. He's had another terrific season. He's had another really good personal season, where he's a threat in pretty much every situation. So not just him, some of the service, some of the quality they've got behind that is going to be a problem, and something we need to brace ourselves for. But I genuinely feel that if we perform the way we did against Ross County, against Kilmarnock, against St Johnstone, I'm fairly certain that we can pose Aberdeen a few problems. If we perform the way we did against Greenock Morton, then it could be a really difficult night for us. So, just simplifying it in my own mind, as much as we go into the detail of what the game can bring and what we want to do, very simply we need to come up with a better collective performance than what we did on Friday night.
And you mentioned that detail there. Is it harder to plan for a game like this with such a small sample size? I know you say the personnel is the same, so make it more difficult when you've not seen a lot of what Neil Warnock wants to do with this team?
Yeah, it does, because we feel that we give the players absolutely everything, and I think if you just look at the nature of the last 3 games, Celtic, Rangers, and then the Scottish Cup tie against Bonnyrigg, then they're completely different games. How the game's played at times looks entirely different. I think a lot of managers, possibly in a similar situation to myself, will tell you that analysing games against Rangers and Celtic, a game at Ibrox for example, where Rangers go down to 10 men, but even the venue, the team you're playing against can look entirely different from maybe how they'll approach a game at home to ourselves. So I know our analysts get a little bit stressed out sometimes because they want to paint the most accurate picture, but sometimes I feel that we do give players an awful lot. We give them more information than I can ever remember as a player. We didn't go to that level of detail. So sometimes you need to go on instinct as well. Sometimes you need to go on those individual traits of the direct opponent you're playing against. I've mentioned the likes of Majowski. We all know he's an intelligent player. We all know he's a really good finisher, and he can be a threat from so many different situations. So as always for me, we'll give the players absolutely everything that we've got. How true a reflection that will be of what the game will look like on Wednesday is difficult to say, but as always I think that old art of just being a consummate professional and understanding what you're going to face, just by doing your own due diligence, by I suppose emotionally executing what you have to do in your own role, that's the bits that sometimes you're going to have to go to. So I suppose it's stripping it back a little bit. We'll still go through our detail with the players, but they're going to have to take a lot of responsibility, because there's aspects of this game on Wednesday that could look a little bit different from what we can actually highlight just now.
When you think of the flaws from Friday, what is it in your mind that you've got to rectify? Were they outplayed? Were they outthought? Was it desire?
No, I think from my side, Peter, I think we were. I think if we go and pass the ball better than what we did, we show a greater level of bravery in possession. And probably the best example I can give is trying to do things that we've not been doing recently. Trying to play passes from areas of the pitch that, you almost get dragged into a different type of game. We knew what the game was going to be. We knew that there was going to be that level of trying to intimidate and trying to get in our face and being really, kind of robust as Morton were. And that's not a criticism. We highlighted it. We knew that was exactly what it's going to be. You have to stand up to that physical test. You have to stand up to that physical challenge. I felt at times we kind of did, and times we could be a lot better. But if I probably strip it back to the bit in possession, there was plenty of times we landed on the ball. There's plenty of times when we had our head up, we had opportunities to pick other passes, we get our shoulders open and go towards the opposition goal. And I just felt at times we started resorting to trying to play killer passes from midway inside our own half, and maybe even deeper at times. And I think sometimes that's not just necessarily the person on the ball. I think sometimes that's that appetite for players ahead of it to make better angles and get in possession. So that's probably the greatest frustration for me. I've spoke to so many people that referenced our performance here against Ross County, how good we were, how slick we were in possession. Well, I felt that the pitch was more than playable on Friday for us to do similar, and sometimes it's just about showing that versatility, not from game to game but from moments in the game. And I didn't think we showed a great enough versatility. It was as if at times we'd just got our mindset on that it was kind of going to be a game going from penalty box to penalty box without too many passes in between, but I think we had a real opportunity to influence that, and we didn't on the night. So that's something we'll try and rectify, and I think in stages going to Pittodrie, you will get chances to pass the ball, and we have to do it in a far better fashion than what we did on Friday.
Are they able, your side, to mix it up and come up with a plan B to face Aberdeen? Yeah,
this isn't just a reactive statement, because I've said this since day one. We all go into coaching courses and we all speak as this football fraternity. So many people speak about this plan A. This is how we play. We never deviate from it. And this is where I need to be clear. This is probably what my biggest frustration was on Friday. Going to Capello, dealing with a strong strong win, dealing with a team that's playing well, dealing with a team that's going to be as aggressive as what they are, both on the pitch and off it, I have to say as well, then I believe in handling that. You know, I believe in producing a team that's capable, whatever the game's thrown at us. You know, I spoke about going to places like Ibrox and Parkhead. I think we've shown that we can deal with those scenarios. I think if you look by and large, playing against lower league teams or whatever in cup competitions, we've been decent on that. And I just think by the very nature of Scottish football that every other week it throws up a completely different challenge. So again, just to go back to it, this idea of we only have plan A and we will not deviate from passing out for the back, we will not deviate from our system of play and all the rest of it, that's never been my way of thinking. I would say I was the polar opposite. So that's where the frustration comes from me, that I think that we could and should have the personnel and the mindset and the game plan to, I don't ever speak about just plan A, I try and get myself all the way to C and D to make sure that we've got as many options as we can to try and win a game of football.
When you look at the history of Neil Warnock as a manager, he can F&B his way through a dressing room. What style of manager are you?
maybe not to that extreme. Yeah, I think we've all got that emotional side in us. Again, I think it's a breath of fresh air seeing someone like Neil in the league. I understand that another manager's lost his job for that to happen, so there's always a bit of sympathy from my side of things. But you know, I don't know Neil at all. I've never crossed paths with him. But very simply, I'm a football fan, and I'm a British football fan. I watch football at all levels across the UK, and Neil's obviously been one of those colourful characters that's brought a smile to people's faces, seems to lift a room when he's in it, but I think most importantly as well, Peter, he's had an awful lot of success, and I think people tend to forget that as well. So I can understand why Aberdeen have went down that route. They're obviously looking for that quick hit, that quick change around, and maybe their mentality and their results, and they're wanting to try and change their position in the league. So that's obviously the route that they've went down. But I think I've seen one or two documentaries and one or two things from footage and clips that you see, and there's a few things in there which is what do we call it? We used to call it character building, didn't we? It's maybe referred to something different now.